yesterday I took my girlfriend and I to see one of the craziest, funniest, and honestly one of the best movies I have seen in a long time. It is called Marty Supreme, and it is about an aspiring table tennis player who will literally do anything and everything to become the world's best table tennis player and make sure that it's known to the world. And so, obviously, for this review, there's going to be a ton of spoilers. So, if you haven't watched the movie and are considering watching it, which I heavily suggest considering it, then please click on another video. Maybe go watch one of my Clash Royale videos. But if you've already watched the video, or if you just want background noise while you're doing homework or video games or something, I don't know, then this is a perfect video for you. So stay tuned. So the movie Marty Supreme is actually loosely based on Marty Reisman, who was a world-renowned professional ping pong player known for his very flashy style and cockiness and hustling. So he dominated the 40s and 50s on the ping pong scene, and at age 67, 6, 7 jokes aside, guys, he won a national title. So he was one of, if not the oldest players to ever win a national title. And Marty Supreme, right, is obviously shown being very young and cocky. So they're very similar in character, I assume. I don't know how bad Marty Ryson was in real life, but Marty Supreme is just like a horrible, horrible person. Like, you hate the dude. Timothy Chalamet puts on such a good acting role. Like, it's such an incredible job. The only other similarities was that Marty Supreme played for the Harlem Globetrotters because he was in a financial situation. And Marty Reisman actually played for the Harlem Globetrotters. He played with like pots and pans and sneakers to impress audiences. But I don't know if it was because of his financial situation. But lastly, Marty Supreme is shown to be working at a shoe store for like years. And Marty Ryson did work at a shoe store, but only for like 4 weeks before getting fired, where he eventually found his passion for table tennis. Similarities and nonfiction aside, now we get into like the made up Hollywood stuff, because that's the fun part of this movie. That's literally, like, I know I said there's spoilers, but there is literally only 20 minutes of ping pong, like max, I assume. For a movie that felt like 3 hours, I think it was like 2 hours, like 35 or 45 minutes long. There was like no ping pong in the movie. It was so funny. Because the movie pivots from ping pong into all about, like, it could have gone in that direction, but it pivots into Marty Supreme's life and his struggles, and how he's literally willing to do anything and everything to become the best ping pong player. And he is so insufferable. Like, you hate him so much, but you also want him to win, because it's like, is it worth it? Like, is it really worth all this ping pong? And in the end, no. Like, obviously another spoiler, but in the end, it was not worth it for him for many reasons. But let's get down to what the movie actually entails, because this is just, like, I love this movie. So we first are shown with Timothy Chalamet, or Marty Supreme, working at a shoe store, helping out this older woman, when this younger lady walks in and asks if Marty can help him. She said, she left her sneakers, in the back room in the storage unit, I guess, when he was helping her with an order. But obviously that's not the case, because he brings her back there and, they were going to kiss and stuff. But before that, his manager calls him into his office to tell him that he's going to be the new manager of the shoe store, which Marty does not so politely decline. He basically says, like, I'm not working in this garbage, office. My friend Harry, his coworker, I don't know his name is, we'll call him Harry. Harry could do that. He's much more ambitious than I am. But me, I'm not doing that, right? And his uncle is the manager, and so he's basically like, whatever you want to do, this ping pong stuff, I don't know, I don't care, I just wish he could work for me. Then after that, he leaves his uncle's office, where he ends up, making out with this girl that he brought to the back, and like 5 seconds after that, kiss scene, if you want to call that a kiss scene, it's revealed that she's pregnant, but only revealed to the audience. Her pregnancy is revealed much later in the movie. And does it make an impact? I mean, kinda. If you're Marty Supreme, not in the slightest. So then we're showed Marty Supreme playing at these like underground, ping pong clubs and stuff, where, he's basically like destroying everybody. and he's hustling people out of their money. Um, and then later on, whatever filler. He's playing with Tyler the Creator, by the way. Like Tyler the Creator plays his friend Wally, who's so funny. Like Tyler is such a funny dude, and he plays the role so perfectly. But he helps Marty, like hustle people out of their money. And so he learns that there's the British Open, British Open happening, which is this like massive like ping pong tournament, right? Most people in the world don't really care about ping pong because it hasn't been like popularized whatsoever. So if you say you want to be like the biggest ping pong player, people might be like, whatever, okay, right? It was like the 40s, I think this movie took place in. But to Marty, this meant everything. So he had to go to the British Open. So that's why him and Wally were scamming all these people out of their money, right? So he could save up enough money to go to this British Open, right? Yada yada yada. He gets himself in a pickle, right? He ends up losing like a lot of his money. He ends up having to rob his uncle to get $700, right? Because his uncle promised him $700, but like only if he like worked at the store, which obviously he didn't want. So he was like, I'm gonna take the money that you owe me, and he used that money to go to the British Open, right? And while he's there, um, he's staying at this like crummy place, right, with all the other table tennis players, and he kind of walks up to the organizer of the British Open, and he goes like, my place, my humble abode is disgusting. It's garbage. I do not want it, right? Like, let me stay, like, in a nice place, right? All the nice people were staying at this place called the Ritz Hotel, which is, like, this really fancy place, right? And the organizer goes, like, no, like, I don't care. Like, all the table tennis players stay in the same spot, right? So what does Marty Supreme do? He goes to the Ritz Hotel and, pretends to be this, very, like, elegant, wealthy guy and says, oh, yeah, you can put my name, my tab under the, International Table Tennis Committee, whatever you want to call it, right? And so while he's staying there, he's getting interviewed by all these people. And while he's getting interviewed, the interviewers notice this one girl, right? This one lady, probably like 40, 50 years old, who used to be this huge, movie star back like 10, 20 years ago. And so all the guys are like, oh my God, she's amazing, right? And so Marty thinks, wow, like, I have to, like, I guess get my hands on her, I guess you want to call it. Like, he's like, I have to, like, get with her. So, he goes back to his hotel room. He starts calling her, like, borderline harassing her. Like, he constantly keeps calling her, right? And so, in typical, like, romance movie, BS, whatever, she ends up seeing him, whatever. They talk for a little bit. And then he goes to dinner at the restaurant, and he notices the movie actress there, right? So he tells the restaurant owner, like, put their tab under my bill, which is currently, like, the tab is currently for, the international committee. So the committee ends up getting that bill, and that's a whole other can of worms later, right? But while he's there, right, trying to, like, his peeking glance at this movie star, the movie star's husband, who's Kevin O'Leary, he plays such a good role because he's this guy named Milton Rockwell, who's supposed to be this, like, really, like, not corrupted, but he's supposed to be this real, like, cutthroat business guy, right? So he approaches Marty, right? And Marty basically says, like, oh, like, I'm, like, such a great table tennis player, stuff like that. Like, it'd be great if we struck up a deal. Like, you wouldn't even, you'd be wishing you could strike deals with me. Like, I'm so great, right? And Milton Rockwell, who's this, like, wealthy guy, he's known for selling pens, right? He's into table tennis, and he goes, like, oh, yeah, like, that'd be really cool. Like, if we partnered up and stuff like that. I'll see how you play, right? So Marty Supreme, it's his big day, right? He advances all the way to the finals in the British Open, and he gets his ass handed to him by this guy. I think his name was like Kodo Yendo or Koyo Yendo, representing Japan. So Marty's so pissed, right? He, like, hates his life. He goes back home. He sees, he meets up with Wally, so he can hustle more people and everything like that. Or more like he sees Wally while he's hustling people at a club. And, while they're hanging out, they realize that he owes them $1,500, right? Because of that unpaid bill for staying at the Ritz Hotel and from the food expenses that, he told the restaurant owner to give him, right? So there's all of this debt going on, right? And him and Wally end up staying at this like motel, I guess, right? They only have like $20 that they scrape together from, hustling people. And while he's taking a bath there, the bath breaks. It's such a funny scene. The bath breaks and he ends up crushing this dog owner and, his dog, right? None of them are killed, but the dog owner is severely wounded. His left hand is almost like ripped off, right? He's bleeding out, and the dog is severely hurt. Well, at least assumed he's hurt, right? Because he has to be taken to the vet. So the dog owner, is getting like ambulance, the ambulance is there trying to revive him and stuff like that. And he tells Marty, like, hey, can you take the dog to the vet for me? Like, I mean, not that not that's all your fault, that you broke the bath and everything, but like, still, like, I need someone to take dog to the vet for me. And he goes, I can't, I have a job, I have this like full-time job, which he's just practicing as a table tennis player, like, I don't think I could do it. And he's like, I'll give you like triple, like 4 times the amount you're paid at your other store, right? Like, look at my bag over there in my hotel room. Like, it's like filled to the brim with money, right? So he's like, take 50 for yourself, take 50 for the dog, right? And he ends up taking like 200 for himself. And he does not bother driving the dog to the vet on the slightest. Because what happens is, as they're hustling more people out of their money, they go to a gas station to fill up their car, which they got the car from Marty's friend. And I feel so bad for Marty's friend because he's such like a nice guy and he tries everything he can to like help his loser of a friend, but he lets him take his his car or his parents' car, something like that. And so, so Marty Supreme or Timothy Chalamet and Tyler the Creator are driving to get their gas pump when all the people that they hustled at the club or bowling alley find them there, and they're about to beat the shit out of them, right? And so Marty Supreme, what does he do? He takes the gas line or pumper thing and just sprays it all over them, right? And so they're like, quick, we got to get away, right? And so, Tyler the Creator hits a telephone pole, which falls and kills all the people there, right? But in that accident, the dog runs away, right? So they couldn't even bother, Marty could not even bother to, like, keep the dog in his possession, right? Not even take it to the vet, but just even keep it in his possession, well protected, while the dog's owner is like sitting there like bleeding out, probably in the hospital and stuff like that. Yada yada yada. All this other filler, right? Marty finds out that the girl that he got pregnant is pregnant, and supposedly her husband gave her a black eye because, spoiler alert, like the girl that's pregnant now, the girl that was seen kissing Marty actually has a husband, and he's kind of abusive. He's just like, or at least seems abusive, right? He's like very like aggressive, very like impatient guy. And so most people think he'd be abusive because at least verbally, like that's what he was being, right? And so, Marty sees this black eye and, he goes to the room of the girl's husband and takes a trophy and bashes him in the head with it, right? So he almost bleeds out and dies. He doesn't, right? But, then it's revealed later that she faked being not fake being pregnant, she faked being abused, right? Which then Marty basically tells her, like, I have a purpose in life. You don't. My purpose is to be the best table tennis player. You don't have a purpose in life. Like, you're not staying with me anymore. Like, I don't care if you're pregnant, if you're not, just get away from me because you're clearly not getting abused, right? And the girl tagged along with him, throughout like some of his journey when he got back from the British Open. Blah, blah, more filler, more filler. I'm just trying to get the important things because this is my first review of a movie, which I guess I'm not doing too good of a job with. But anyway, then, because Marty Supreme, he quit his job at the shoe store, right? In fact, after he robbed his uncle, right? He comes back from the British Open And his uncle's like, his uncle almost arrests him. He says like, okay, if you can work for me, I'll let you off the hook, right? But then he escapes from the police, right? So he basically, so far, right, he escapes from the police. He tells his like only like friend, the girl, that like she does have a purpose and he has a purpose. He uses his friend's car and crashes it, and also just uses his friends in general. And he's just such a horrible person. He tells his mom like, I don't want to be here anymore. Like I need to go off. Right, he's just a jerk, right? But then it all rides on this, right? Because he has no money whatsoever. He needs to find a way to make money. So he goes to that Kevin O'Leary. He goes to Milton Rockwell, the Kevin O'Leary person, which Kevin O'Leary plays an amazing job. Being this like rich, like snake of a billionaire, whatever, pen salesman. And he basically tells Marty, look, like, you're down on your luck, but I have a way that we can both make a lot of money. We're going to play an exhibition match in Japan, in front of Kodo Endo, in front of all these Japanese people. All you have to do is purposely lose the match, right? And, you'll have so much money. You'll still be the face of ping pong, all these other things. I'll take you on my private jet. We can become business partners. You'll make a lot of money, right? And fun fact, Milton Rockwell, or Kevin O'Leary's like son, died in, I think, like the Korean War, like the World War II or something like that. I think he died from the Japanese in World War II. Something along those lines, right? So, Marty Supreme basically says like, oh, like, I don't want this deal, like, like, oh, like, what are you making a mockery out of me? And, Milton Rockwell, Kevin O'Leary basically goes like, well, yeah, like, you're kind of like a joke to people. And then he goes, and then, Marty basically goes like, oh, we're playing for the people that basically killed your son. Like, isn't that great? Like, you're a loser and your son's a loser. And like, understandably so, Kevin O'Leary is like, get out of here. Like, you're a jerk. I never want to see your face again. You're a jerk. Bye-bye. And so, blah, 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 more filler, right? So, as I said before, he's hustling people. He has no money whatsoever. He still has the dream of becoming the best ping pong player, right? Because he has to beat Kodo Endo to do so, because he's the one that kicked his ass in the British Open. So then he tries to find all these different ways to possibly make money, right? He had the dog. He has hustling people, right? But then the movie star, right? So I forgot exactly how he meets the movie star, but basically she agrees to give him one of Kevin O'Leary's necklaces, right? She's been getting these nice fancy necklaces every single year the past 23 years that mean nothing to her, because her husband, who's Milton Rockwell, or Kevin O'Leary, is like just garbage to her. And she's also having an affair with Marty, right? As, obviously. So she doesn't care about her husband, right? But she also knows that Marty is like a disgusting person, right? He does and says things to her that just make her be like, you're just a horrible person, right? But in the end, she still tries to help him out and to give him her necklace, right? So it's like, I think it was her big day, right? Big day acting. And, after she acts in front of like thousands of people, they have this big celebration at this nice, like, nice mansion. I think it was a mansion. And so, he goes to get the necklace from her, right? And then after that, he goes like, like, why don't you and I have like some fun, right? So they walk around a park, right? Have some fun. They end up, kissing and making out. And then the police officers come by and confront them, right? And they're like, oh, I know you. You're that movie star, right? And she goes like, oh, no. And then they're like, well, put your hands behind your back. And then she says, okay, if you like Marty's necklace, which I think was like $2,000 or something, which, for the 40s was like a ton of money. Like $2,000 in the 40s is probably like 40 grand nowadays, something crazy like that. So she goes like, if you want the necklace, you can have it and just let us off the hook. So that's what they do, right? But because the party's all for her, right? She's like, oh no, I'm like 35 minutes late. I've been out and about the park with you. What am I supposed to do now? But Marty doesn't care about that. All Marty wants is the necklace from her. She's like, can you please give me another necklace? She's like, no. He's like, can you please give me another necklace? She's like, okay, fine, right? So she's like, just give me like 10 minutes, wait by the car, I'll come back down and get you the necklace, right? Instead of waiting for her to come back down from, whatever mansion or hotel she's at, he ends up going inside, right? And he's about to go to her room to get the necklace, but she's crying. She's sobbing on the floor. Her mom's there, and they're basically like, don't come in here. So he's kind of like, okay, well, I can't get this necklace. Like, I'm screwed, right? But, who is there? The movie star's husband, otherwise known as like the Kevin O'Leary Milton Rockwell guy, right? So he begs him one more time, like, can we please like do this deal? I'm sorry for the way that I treated you. I'm really down on my luck. Like, I didn't mean to insult you when I said the thing about like Japanese, Japan. Like, I would love to, do this exhibition match, whatever, right? Also, keep in mind, he played with the Harlem Globetrotters, which he didn't want to do because he didn't want to be, you don't want to showboat for other people or anything like that. Even though he loves being flashy and stuff, he thought he was above the Harlem Globetrotters. He eventually did it for money. But anyway, back into it. One of the funniest scenes, right? Kevin O'Leary basically says, you want me to take you to Japan and pay for your flight and stuff like that? Fine. He's like, and it gets a little bit graphic. He basically says like, bend over, and he takes a paddle and just starts spanking him with it, right? Which is really humiliating, but Marty deserves it because he loves humiliating, belittling others, and just being really arrogant and so self-centered and cocky and confident. So it was actually nice to see the karma get to him, right? But, the next day, they go to Japan, right? Because he's going to go there anyway. Milton was like, oh, I could take my pen business in Japan, right? He already likes ping pong, but I'll take this Marty guy with me, right? So Marty ends up doing the exhibition match, and he apologizes to the organizer for how, angry he was with him about like the whole like living situation. And he's like, can I please be included in the next like official tournament? And the organizer basically goes like, no, like, not only were you a jerk, but like, it's in like a week from now, right? You're not going to be able to fit it. And he goes like, okay, fine, whatever. Like, I don't care. Like, I'll show you I deserve to be the best, right? So he plays this exhibition match where he's supposed to purposely lose, right? All he had to do is purposely lose, and then he'd get a fat paycheck, and that's it, right? So, he loses the match, and, Kodo Endo, his opponent says, okay, now you have to kiss a pig, right? And so at first he was going to do it, right? And then he sees all the people laughing at him, and he basically goes like, no, this is all fake. Like, I don't want any part of this. This is BS. I do not want to partake in this. I want to show you guys how great I truly am, and I'll show you guys a real match, right? And so everyone's like, yeah, let's see the real match, right? Kodo Endo versus this random American, like, idiot, right? So, huge tension, huge stakes. And he ends up winning, right? And he's crying, and he's like hugging Kodo. He's like, great job playing, man. Like, you were great, right? And he has like tears running down his face. Like, I'm finally the world's greatest ping pong player. However, this is an exhibition match. This was not the British Open or anything like that, right? So to most people, you think he would like be this like big hit guy, right? And he'd have like all this money. Not in the slightest. And kind of like an Eminem like 8 Mile ending, like he goes back home, finds out that his girlfriend, or I guess, the person that he was really close friends with, the girl that he made out with at the beginning, is in the maternity ward. And it's assumed that she's not doing too well and that she probably died, right? Or that in the future, after the movie, she'd probably die, right? Which is sad. And he goes back, he goes to the maternity ward, right? Kisses her on the forehead, realizes that she's probably going to die, and then sees the baby. And then it ends with him sobbing, holding the baby. And it's such a beautiful ending because every single piece of karma got to him. He screws over the dog owner, like the dog owner ends up like seriously hurting the girl, right? It was basically this whole thing. Like, I don't want to get into it because even though it's like relevant, it's not like super relevant, but like basically when the dog runs away, right? Like some random owner ends up finding him and he's super defensive, and Marty and the girl end up trying to get it. He gets super defensive, right? He pulls a shotgun on them. So they drive away, but then the dog owner, like the actual dog owner that got crushed from the bathtub, he ends up like driving with them because they tried scamming him and it didn't work. So they basically kidnapped them. He goes there with them to confront dog owner. When he pulls out the shotgun this time, he shoots the dog owner and kills him, but he also shoots the car and basically kills the girlfriend, right? And so, like, he tries screwing over the dog owner, karma got to him, right? He tried screwing over the organizer got to him. He tried saying the really hurtful, like, Japanese joke to Kevin O'Leary got to him. He tried screwing over his friend like with his car. The car gets like blown up, which I guess screwed over the friend in general, but like now his friend hates him, right? He's using his friend as a place to go. um he screwed over his uncle and robbed him. Now he's forever on the run from the police, right? His uncle hates him. His uncle thinks he's a loser. Well, his uncle still loves him, right? He says that, but he runs away from the police, and so he definitely thinks he's a loser. All these other things. Oh my god, I'm so sorry for ranting. I did such a bad job of this movie review, but I just had to talk about this. This is such a great movie. For a movie all about, like, that was supposed to be all about ping pong, there was literally only like 20 minutes of ping pong, and it really, really exceeded my expectations. And also, like, it was so unexpected, all this. It was so well done. Again, props to Timothy Chalamet for doing such an incredible job at being such a hateful, like annoying character that you want to kill. And Tyler the Creator and Kevin O'Leary played amazing roles as well. And it was just like, this is just a fun movie to watch if you have like nothing else to watch. I highly suggest watching this movie. But yeah, if you guys have any like thoughts on this movie or how I did this review, please let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed this video, please consider liking and subscribing, as it truly helped me out a lot. And in addition to like Clash Royale, I would kind of like to get into this like reviewing content. I feel like it'd be interesting. I definitely have a few words to say about Hazbin Hotel, because that show is just whatever. But yeah, I hope you all have a wonderful day and take care.